About 3 years ago, I planted 14 wintergreen boxwoods here. And today I'm going to show you how amazing they're doing. In the early spring of 2021, I pretty much started working on this side of the house. For those of you that have been around since then, you probably remember how I started my Nordic flower bed here. And of course, I added a boxwood hedge. I played with a bunch of ideas in the beginning about how to place the boxwoods. I started with an idea for this hedge that didn't really make sense once I sort of placed the boxwoods there. And sometimes that's pretty much how things go here. The ideas take a turn and something even better comes out of them as they are happening. I use 14 wintergreen boxwoods. Pretty much wintergreen and winter gem are the only two varieties that I use here because I just love how glossy and classic they look. They were placed about 18 inches apart from each other and they were tiny. The biggest challenge for me in finding these boxwoods was that I needed many of them in the same variety, and sometimes that is hard to find. But luckily, I am well familiar with starting things with very tiny plants, and because of my budget, I had to be patient in seeing them grow. These were $8 to $10 a piece back then in 2021, which when you do the math for 14 of them, it's still a lot of money. But if you are thinking about starting your own hedge in a part of your garden and your budget allows it, you can definitely start with bigger plants. You can place them around the 18 to 20 inch mark, and then you don't have to wait years before you get to where I am today. When these were planted here, I used biotone from Spoma as fertilizer, and every year since then, I apply a little bit of fertilizer early in the spring, right about this time in April or May. And that's also when I give them a nice prune to keep them in the shape that I want. Because these were so tiny in the beginning, the first couple of years I barely did any pruning. I just used my pruners to cut the savages that will be coming out of the plant on their own. And once they were big enough, that's when I started shaping them into the hedge that they are now. I know that a lot of people don't share my love for boxwoods, and a lot of times I see people getting rid of these magnificent shrubs from their garden beds. That's how I got 3 huge boxwoods for free years ago, and they became part of this bed right away. Up until now, I haven't really lost any of these boxwoods to the winter. All 14 original wintergreen boxwoods are still here. I am going to prune them and I am going to give them fertilizer today here in a minute. But I want to show you something that I noticed in one of them, and I am not really sure what's going on. This is the boxwood that is closest to the corten steel beds that I have here. And as you can tell, half of it on the inside part of the hedge, it's kind of dying. Now, I know some of you may be thinking that this is winter damage, but here's the thing. This didn't happen after the winter. This happened last year in the summer. I am not really sure why this happened last summer, but my theory is that because the plants that I had growing here last year were so full and healthy and thriving, the plants that I had growing in the corten still, that is, they were completely covering and smothering this area right here where the brown is happening. Maybe the lack of sunshine made it so. I didn't really spray anything here, so I know that it's not a chemical reaction, but I think that the lack of sunshine and all the smothering happening here made this what it is. That's my theory anyway. But I am not going to do anything to fix that this year. I am going to let the shrubs be, and I am just going to keep an eye on what I plant here this year to allow the boxwoods, especially these guys right here, to breathe. And maybe they will look a lot better by the end of the season. Maybe I'll give you an update, and if I do decide to replace it, I'll probably look for a wintergreen boxwood that is about the same size that they are now to make it look like they're all even. I am not an expert in pruning boxwoods, and if I had to do this for other people, I would be really, really nervous. But in my garden, keeping them in shape, pruning them in the shape that I think that I want, I mean, I feel comfortable doing that. Because if I messed up, then nobody's gonna complain. What do you think? Do you love boxwoods as much as I do? Are you thinking about making a hedge for a section of your garden? Let me know in the comments.